Good evening to all of you listening out there. This is Skymmilk, and welcome to Just Skimming the Surface. My guest today is Stephen Farrell of The Game Advocate.
Hello.
Hey, Stephen.
That's me. What's up?
It's Game Advocate,
You
right?
betcha.
Not okay. I wasn't sure if it was Game Advocate or Gaming Advocate.
Nailed it.
So I was like, man, I messed it up already.
It's good to start with a mistake, and you can learn quickly. It's a good way to go about life.
So Stephen and I have known each other for, 7 years?
Yeah, it's been a while.
Is it really? Wait a second. I've known you since my freshman year, which was 2010. It is now 2017.
We just do a little simple math here. Carry the one, move the zero. Yeah, 7 years.
14 years.
14, you nailed it. Yeah, exactly.
And Stephen is a gaming and musical extraordinaire.
Oh, wow.
Isn't that correct?
I don't know about that. I mean, my shower singing's pretty on point. But
Do you play harmonica in the shower too?
haven't tried that challenge mode yet, no.
The next YouTube channel playing harmonica in the shower.
I'll give it a go.
Challenge.
I'll give it a go. That sounds awful, but hey, whatever.
Just give it a shot. See what happens.
I'm sure my neighbors will be big
So
fans, yeah.
So Stephen is he is a writer for The Game Advocate, which is a website that does reviews on games and other articles about games. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So TGA, or The Game Advocate, is kind of an effort to just create a positive, compendium of reviews and looks on games and articles, where we don't post anything negative. We just really want to focus on what games are doing right, because I think they're a really powerful and awesome medium. And to just spend time just kind of bagging on them or dishing out nasty stuff, it's kind of useless. There's so much going on in the game that I think capturing some of the cool stuff to now trivialize it with my simple words, but to capture some of that power through what people are doing is what's really important when looking at not only games journalism but just kind of documenting games for the future. So I was just a little frustrated with how negative a review lends itself to being negative kind of in and of itself, because you're saying, okay, here are the values of the game and here are its faults, but what if we could just talk about here's what the game does really well. So that's what we do.
Yeah, that's a good idea, actually, because most reviews that I've seen tend to focus on the negatives.
Yeah, and I think they're trying to answer the question, should I buy this game? And you read a review with that question in your mind, and hopefully you can make a more informed opinion. But I think we can answer that question without having to include all the negative stuff. So,
Of course.
so that's what we're getting at over there.
That's actually really good.
Thank you.
I like the positivity.
Thank you. Yeah.
It's always very nice. Now, when I knew you back in high school, you were more of a musician kind of guy. Do you still do that?
Do I still do that? Oh man, well, I used to play a lot of piano for goofs and giggles, but piano is super not portable. So I've done the old douchebag guitar, which is cool. Gotten a lot into that. I play a lot of Piedmont blues lately, which has been kind of fun. But as far as performance or something, nah, it's just my shower head and me. Unfortunately. So
Dang.
yeah, it's kind of sad.
Hey, you were in all the top choirs. Weren't you in the top bands too?
Well, come on, high school,
And you were the lead in the musicals.
Man, but we had. What was the?
You were famous. You were
man.
famous in Antioch, at least.
You flatter.
Everyone at the school knew your name.
All 30
big man on
people.
campus.
All
30 people.
Yeah.
Good old Antioch.
Good old Antioch. Goodness, it's been a while since I've been back there, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah, dude.
Where are you at now?
I'm in Madison, Wisconsin, on a
that's
tiny
exciting,
piece
too.
of land between two lakes. It's pretty
wow,
cool.
That's actually pretty serene.
is.
to use a new vocabulary word.
You can also dip into windy. It's also very windy.
Well, I mean, we know what windy's like. We're close to
Yeah, that's
Chicago. Well, close enough.
Yeah, definitely. 45 minutes an hour, definitely close. Totes Chicago.
Would you consider Antioch Chicagoland?
No, nah, no, not really. I mean,
Really?
it's so small.
There's some Chicago tourist spots up here. You know,
Like what?
they consider them tourist spots. Don't ask me what. I can't think of it.
specifics.
I can't. I
You
just know they exist.
Yeah, right.
You know, the Antioch Clock Tower that was supposed to exist.
That's right. Very cool location.
Very cool empty
Yeah.
lot these times of years.
Is it still empty? I'm curious.
Yes, it's still just an empty lot with some gravel
Well, at least
and people park
we
in
got
it.
that going for us.
When the carnival comes to town, they just set up right over there. People park in the grass there.
Dude, right on. I never liked carnivals, man. Or it's just
I don't know if I'd consider it a carnival, but
just
the death traps on wheels and the rigged games come into town. And yeah, it's a cool little place for the high schoolers to hang out.
right on. Keep those kids off the streets.
Well, I mean, they do set up on the
Yeah.
street.
Rats.
Dang, foiled
Foiled
again.
again. Indeed.
So what got you more into gaming to where you decided to be a part of something like the Game Advocate?
Woo! Wow. All right. That question is going to bring us back to the mystical world of 2008. If you want to
long
journey
time
through
ago.
time with me, when I played the video game called BioShock, by Irrational Games,
BioShock.
headed by Ken Levine. Yeah, so before BioShock, I was a fan of games, played a lot of, like Halo and stuff with my buddies, and that was cool and rad and fun. But BioShock was the first game that kind of like keyed me into to get a little bit highfalutin or something, like how powerful games can be, or how we can tell these really kind of dynamic stories, not just within a game, but through gameplay itself. Because BioShock's
Definitely.
narrative features like a very gameplay heavy sort of story, wherein, and what I mean by that is that by playing the game, by physically doing the inputs, the story is being told. It's not like, you press A or X or whatnot, and then a cutscene plays, and you're like, oh, there is some story, and then there's like a hard cut, and now this is a game, and then there's a cut, like, now this part is story. When you mix them together, there's this really kind of juicy feeling that no other medium really gets at.
So it just flows really well
Yeah,
in that game.
yeah. It's dated now, for sure.
Oh, people still love it. The collection just came out.
Oh yeah, dude. Absolutely. Those are they're so classic. I can it's tougher to recommend them now. The first one at least because it is pretty clunky mechanically. But it was certainly kind of a pioneer in that narrative space, I think. At least matching theme to mechanic or to physical gameplay. So that's when that whole thing started. I didn't realize it had started yet, but it started. And played BioShock many times, I think 3 or 4 times over, in a very short period of time. And after that, it was just games were always kind of more on my radar rather than just like, want to have some entertainment and kick around, the fun with some friends and play some Halo or something. It became like, okay, like what's the next experience? What am I looking for? And through time and through university, I sort of directed my path. I knew I wanted to work on games, so I went into computer science my freshman year and sophomore year, and I failed out of it because I was very bad. Oh yeah, dude, that was terrible. The problem was, for example, made this game called Sheepmaster, which is our first project in 302, the intro class.
Cheat Master.
Sheepmaster.
Sheep
Those
Master.
cute little things.
Oh,
And we had a month to do it. I finished the whole game in less than a day. I just worked. I didn't stop. And so for the rest of the month, I turned it into this really awesome game. Originally, it was just a game about variable manipulation. You know, oh, I get a sheep plus one sheep, do my inventory. But like, I added a market, I added like a day and night cycle. There was, you know, different vendors that you could talk to. You had inventory space. It was super cool.
Wow, that sounds really complicated, and like it took a lot of time.
It did, dude. It took a long time. I was super proud of it. I had the whole, like, all my friends playing it. It was just text-based, but I was very, very proud. And this was unfortunately the same year that they introduced the testing server to the university, which meant that no human eyes would ever trawl across my code. It was all computer. And the problem is it was looking for character per character exactness in my program, and so obviously that wasn't going to happen. And so, for example, do you know anything about computer code? Do you know what a string is?
No, I'm very stupid. Cool. Please inform
me. That'll
me.
Probably be good for listeners in case you guys out there don't know what a string is. A string is basically just a collection of letters and characters and numbers, whatever you want. A string is something that a computer will output like text. It doesn't care what is in that. You know, so you could tell the computer, like, excuse me, you know, output like hello world, right? And it reads the output command, and then it just outputs whatever you put in it. You could put garble, and it doesn't care. It outputs it. So my first line was a string, welcome to Sheepmaster, ! And my whole program failed because it was supposed to be welcome to Sheepmaster, period. So like had nothing to do with code, right? It was just like
not a lot of room for error there, huh?
Not a lot of room for creativity. So my fun little sheep game got an F, and I was like, "Are you kidding me?" And for the rest of the semester, I loved learning the concepts, but I hated the assessments. So I didn't do any of the assessments. I didn't take any of the tests or anything when I failed the class.
Well, that's kind of gonna make you fail, you know, if you don't do half the work there.
I did all the work. I just never submitted. I made some other fun games too in that process. But in any case, I was like, okay, this is probably not for me. The rigidity was not kosher. So I moved to English, creative writing. I was like, oh yeah, cool. Writing that's the next step in how to make games.
It's very important.
Yeah. Because I knew I'm a hopeless artist, so that'll never be a reality. But that really wasn't super for me either. I just wasn't grooving with the people, wasn't grooving with the work, and eventually kind of was just took a random art class because I want to be good at art someday, but I never will be. And it was with Linda Barry.
Don't we
right?
all?
And when she was just very encouraging and was like, well, you know what? Like you obviously really like, you know, games at this kind of deeper level, and you're really passionate about them in more than entertainment ways. Like you should stick with it. Like find a way to pursue that. Like don't give it up, because at this point in my university career, I'm like completely hopeless. Like I don't know what to do. Like I don't want to just tag along on like a bandwagon degree, like engineering or something, and be confused for the rest of my life. And so she was real encouraging and kind of stuck with it mentally, and eventually ran into a guy named Tom Dubois, who is like head of folklore here at the university.
Ooh, Dubois, yeah. Very French.
He is like probably the friendliest man I've ever met.
The Frenchliest man.
If you ever meet a man named Tom Dubois, like just give him a hug. And he actually, I complained to him too, really good at complaining, I guess. And he was like, you should start an individual major that just focuses on whatever the heck you want to focus on. And so I built my own curriculum from scratch and studied video games, and ended up getting to take a lot of classes with Kurt Squire and Constance Steinkuhler, who were like preeminent research scholars in games and learning. I learned a bunch through them. And yeah, then TGA kicked off as well during that time, and it just I went hard with games at this here university. And
awesome.
That's kind of the journey.
So are you one of the founders of TGA then?
I am. Yeah. It's me and my buddy Andrew are the two founders of Pullstring Media, which oversees the Game Advocate.
So you've been there since the very beginning.
Yeah, dude. Article 1, baby.
Article number 1. Nice. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's been a blast. I really like, if I had to sum up the reason why I'm doing this in kind of one sentence, it's just because like these developers put like blood, sweat, and tears into these projects, and I really want to like have an outlet or a way or a place where we can just say like this thing that you did, this tree that you made, this soundtrack you did, this mechanic, like it's brilliant, thank you. You know what I mean? Like an internet hug.
Yes, yes, an internet hug.
Internet hug. Yeah.
My favorite thing, especially on a time when the internet is a very toxic place. This kind of positivity is very necessary.
Well, thank you. It seems that way, doesn't it?
Definitely.
Oh, the internet.
Anywhere you go, you see all sorts of negativity online. It's kind of disheartening.
Yeah, it's really easy to be abrasive, you know?
Does that affect the Game Advocate website anyway? Are there comments or anything on there?
Oh, dude, all the time. Well, not all the time. Excuse me. I get a lot of criticism for TGA. The main criticism is, why is this useful? We need to be able to point out the negative things so that we can, move forward and make games better. And that's totally rad. That's excellent. And I agree with that. We're not like policing our writers and our articles to be like, oh, did you say something negative? Like, get out of here. You're totally welcome to be critical of things. It's just, it will never be our focus. We're never going to post an article about like, oh, look at this game. It's awful. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But we actually got hacked the other day, a couple, 2 months ago now. So that was cool. They deleted everything, and so we had to.
They deleted everything.
It was right before PAX East, which we were going to as media. And PAX is like, if you don't publish articles, like, you will not be invited again. So we had to rebuild the whole site and every article in less than 2 weeks. That was really fun.
That's terrible, because that's that. But you went to PAX though. That's pretty cool. And you were like, you actually had a panel and stuff.
Did not have a panel. We just went as the media tag. So just walk around interviewing devs.
That's pretty cool.
It was an absolute blast.
How'd you get that kind of in there?
Well, have a media
it's
site.
A secret. Oh, okay. So as long as you have a media site, they'll just be like, yeah.
There's a bit of an application process. It's pretty simple. Basically, they kind of like vet you based on your your audience size and black magic, I guess. And sometimes you get in. So we managed to get in there, and we had like not finished it even the night before. We were working on it in the morning before PAX. So like I showed up at the media hour, like ready to get started, and I was texting Andrew like, "Is it ready?" Oh God! So we got that so close.
Please no.
That was scary.
So you went to PAX East, was it?
Yes.
That's the one over in Boston?
Boston,
right?
yeah. Really.
Boston. I actually just had an episode that's going up prior to yours with a friend of mine who went to PAX East as well. He said he had a good time.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's super sweet.
He's got a YouTube channel where he plays video games with friends,
Right on, dude.
The usual.
The usual.
What was that?
Yeah, right on. That's sweet. It was
he said he saw a couple different YouTubers and such, gamers, all sorts of different things. Was there anyone that you saw at PAX that you find influential that you really wanted to meet?
Oh goodness. Here's my deal, right? I'll tell you a quick PAX story. I was getting lunch one of these days at PAX. I was getting a little overpriced pizza slice. And I just sat down next to this couple. I presume they were a couple, or maybe very, very close friends. And they were talking about their experience with PAX this year as compared to last year. And I just kind of like butted in, and I was like, that's cool. Like, what? Tell me more. This is my first year. I'm kind of curious to hear, what the differences are. And the guy was like, like this year it kind of sucks, honestly. I'm not a huge fan of it. I'm like, that's a cool thing to tell someone their first time at PAX. Why is that? And he told me like, well, like this year there's so many indie titles. There's so many little booths. Like last year there were a lot more large, like AAA people here. And now it's just all these indies. And I'm like, well, that sounds excellent. That's kind of my jam. So like it's tough for me to pick them all out because I could pick a few out, but I feel like I would just be doing a disservice to everyone else who showed up. These people are paying, like, let's be real, a lot of money for these booths for a very short period of time, and they've been probably pouring their life plus into this project, and there's so much enthusiasm and excitement from everyone about their projects. You know, it's not like you get people who show up to PAX and they're like lukewarm about their own game. They're like, oh yeah, I'm at PAX, I pay for this booth, like it's pretty good, I guess. Like everyone is super excited to talk about their projects, and rightfully so. And so it's hard to be like, yeah, this one person or that one person. I mean, there are some big names, some big YouTubers there, but for me, the draw was just every like individual project to like small studio project was really cool to see. Some like names that were there. I know like Rand Miller was there. I did an article with him. He's the guy who made Myst, which is that game from like 1994, way back when, or was it 98?
I've heard of it though. That was a really popular game. Had a big following.
Oh yeah, definitely. It kind of pioneered like narrative games to begin with. So that was huge. I mean, got to meet with like the Guns of Icarus team, which I'm huge fans of. The Night in the Woods team was there. Deliver Us the Moon was there. The huge Starbreeze booth. Everybody was there. It was a good time.
Yeah. That's fantastic. I've never been. I've been to like one convention before, and that's it.
Oh, cool though. Which one?
But Indie PopCon.
Indie PopCon.
I went last year. Have you heard of it?
I'm not familiar with that. I'm embarrassed.
Indie PopCon. It takes place in Indianapolis, and they just have all sorts of guests from games, from YouTube, from all sorts of aspects of pop culture.
Cool.
And they all have booths, and it's just like any other convention. You just go there and have a good time.
Yeah, that sounds very cool. Yeah, conferences are a blast, man. I really enjoy the energy.
Yeah, I really want to try and go to more. It's just to see showcases of work, because at Indie PopCon they also had a little bit of small booths where you could play some indie games and such. And that was just interesting to me. Good way to get your indie game out there. And they also had all the bigger guests as well. So the bigger guests kind of drew the crowd, and then the crowd would also, walk by the indie booths as well.
Fun, yeah. Dude,
very interesting.
Right the big draw to me for conferences is it's kind of like this fantasy world for a very short period of time. Like I could go up to like basically a random person within a 1 mile radius of like the Boston Convention Center, for example, like at PAX, and just walk up to him and be like, so what do you think about Dark Souls? And like every person would have like, paragraphs of, comeback. Like that just doesn't happen in the real world. So you get all these like very enthusiastic people together. And I think there's some kind of mojo in the air. It's just real fun to latch onto.
Yeah, anyone who goes to a convention is obviously very passionate about those things.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
Very good crowd, too.
For sure, dude.
So you enjoy indie games. I know there are a couple really popular indie games that came out. I know you look at usually the positives, but I kind of want to talk about a very bad sort of indie game that came out recently that maybe you have an opinion on. Maybe you could shed some positive light on. It's called No Man's Sky.
Wow, saw that one coming. Yeah.
What did you think of that game?
What did I think? Okay, here are my thoughts. Okay, listen to me, Sean Murray, and feel good about yourself. I think that No Man's Sky was a victim of good press. It was Hello Games, right? The studio that made No Man's Sky.
Yes.
It was kind of fishy to begin with, right? You look at their studio history. What have they made? Like Joe Danger 1 and like Joe Danger Infinite or something. And now they're going to go on to make this open world space exploration trading. You land on planets. It's the best game ever. Like that's inconceivable, right? There's going to be some hiccups.
Inconceivable.
Yeah. Do not think that word means what you think it means. But in any case, so I was a little bit suspicious at the start. And they got picked up by Sony, and the marketing just went mad. And suddenly this like little project that they had been working on exploded into the AAA scene. I don't think it was ready for that. And there are a couple ways that I can tell that it wasn't ready for that, and I will elucidate those reasons for you now. The first one is in interviews, and not the kind of sad Colbert Report, just normal like podcast interviews that Sean Murray did with various outlets. He's very nervous about No Man's Sky consistently. He quotes in one interview, and I have no idea where I heard this. I don't remember, but he said like No Man's Sky was like building a rocket on the way up. Like we've launched, we're in flight, and we still feel like we're putting this thing together. He was very, very kind of hesitant about it, and so that I think he got too much press to handle and to know exactly what he was working with. Two, in the game itself, it's very slow. The pace is slow. The transitions are kind of slow, and I don't mean that in a mechanical, technical way, but in an artistic way. When you get a new milestone, those kind of black bars come from the top and the bottom, and the text like slowly crawls across the screen like milestone achieved. When you get into a new system, the black bars come down and it tells you the name of the system. Like, this was a game that was built and designed to be artful and to be digested and to be kind of taken slowly and reflectively. And Sony, I think, kind of hyped the game up as this, like, well, you get into space and you shoot things and you can trade and it's a big old space sim, and that wasn't the heart of No Man's Sky. The heart of No Man's Sky was this weird, like, existential contemplation on, like, in this vast infiniteness where there are people flying around, but then again, you'll never see anyone because it's so vast. Like, what is like religion? What is this Atlas thing? What is, do we follow our own path? Do we follow something predetermined? Like, why do we move to the center? It's supposed to be kind of this contemplative experience. And I think it got a little marred by how hyped it got. Because you can see, like, there's this really sweet mechanic I've never seen before where you're collecting like the history of cultures to learn their language slowly over time so that you can just understand what they're saying in the space station. Like, that's pretty incredible and cool mechanic. I wish that had gotten fleshed out and they weren't forced into a corner where Sony was like, hey, you need to make space combat. Forget about this culture stuff. Space combat's where it's at.
No one needs culture.
Yeah,
it's not important at all.
So we're
just a big corporation who wants to make money off of this.
And I'm totally down. Like, Sony has been embracing indie titles a lot, and I think it's cool and it's awesome, and I love Axiom Verge. But I think it just got too much hype way too fast. Hello Games didn't know what they were dealing with, and the game was never designed to have AAA appeal. It's supposed to be kind of this niche indie game, and yet it got kind of forced into having AAA appeal, and so its heart was real real sketchy, I think. But they've actually they made a turnaround. They did get an award at the GDC, this recent GDC, at the IGF Awards. They got like innovation, I think, because they did some real serious math on making those planets work the way they did.
Oh yeah, they really did. The game itself is really beautiful. I do like the graphics and everything on it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I played it after all the updates came through, and compared to when I first got the game to when I played it more recently, they've definitely improved it.
Oh, for sure.
I'd have to say.
Yeah, like the Pathfinder updates with the base building and then the new vehicles. It's a blast, honestly. And if you're if you want a slow, kind of calm, artful experience, like No Man's Sky will hit the nail on the head, I think.
It's a very chill, laid-back game. Like this podcast.
The Silky Smooth Podcast.
The Silky Smooth Podcast.
That should be your little tagline. Oh, goodness. But yeah, no, I like the game. Honestly, I've put a good chunk of hours into it, somewhere around 40 or something. Not too many. Really?
That's a lot. 40 is a lot of hours.
Really? I mean, I guess.
Really? I don't know.
I put 290-some in Rocket League. So.
Well, it's more than I put on it. 290 in Rocket League. That was a really good game, too. Oh, and Overwatch. I haven't played much of it, but I've watched videos and such, and
Man,
Seems pretty interesting, but I'm terrible at shooters and anything like
oh
that.
man, but that's
So
the great thing about Overwatch is that you don't have to be good at shooters. That's the genius behind it. Is that you can jump in and play Mercy, who doesn't shoot anything. You hold left click to heal and you hold right click to boost people's damage. Like, you don't have to be good at shooting. Like, you can play Junkrat, who lobs like these handmade grenade things in big arcs. Like, no accuracy required. Well, I'm gonna pull that a little bit back. There's some accuracy, but not a lot. Like, it's really a shooter that doesn't require you to be a shooter, and that's the appeal to me, at least. So don't cut yourself short. You might be very good at Overwatch. Who knows?
I might have to try it then.
Definitely, dude.
Now, you like story-driven games, then.
Oh yeah.
I'm taking from this. Which I definitely see you there. I love games with a good story. If a game doesn't have a good story, then I usually don't enjoy it. And that is why I'm enjoying Persona 5 right now.
Oh man.
I don't want to talk too much about it because of all the spoilers, but
God, I can't stop playing that game. It's so good. It's so groovy. The music, the soundtrack is brilliant. The style, even the menus, like, everything is just so juicy.
it's honestly a very nice turn for me, game-wise, right now, of all the games that have come out recently. Because you had Mass Effect, which came out and was a little bit of a disappointment. And then Yooka-Laylee. I don't know if you know about.
Yeah, rough stuff.
Yeah, kind of disappointing there, too. Even the new Legend of Zelda was a little disappointing to me.
Breath of the Wild, really?
Yeah.
I haven't touched it, much to my displeasure. I really want to touch it.
It's a good game. It's a good game. You should check it out.
Just didn't strike a powerful chord with you, huh?
It's just too different from the old games. I don't know. I guess I'm just a little nostalgia blind, which is very common when it comes to video games. I'm sure you know.
Yeah, for sure. That's a struggle, and I think to talk about Persona as well, and to kind of bring all of these games into the conversation, like, having that kind of nostalgia bias, or at least bias towards what, like, a game's vocabulary ought to be, like, what are its verbs? What does it let me do? When does it let me do that? Persona 5 definitely breaks out of that. And so the first few hours for me were, like, very uncomfortable, because it gives you all these, like, open world kind of options, and it gives you all these different, like, fun activities, but also it's like, no, you can't do any of them. You have to go to sleep. Like, you have to follow the story right now. Like, you're not allowed to have fun.
I hate that. That is my least favorite.
But I kind of love it though, right? Like, because it's defining its own, like, kind of vocab set.
It's nice that it kind of sticks you to a certain course while still allowing you that freedom to do whatever at certain times. But when I have to go to sleep and can't do anything after a day where I already haven't done anything because of story,
yeah, for sure,
it sometimes bothers me.
Yeah, no, I think, like, it just maintains a pace by doing that. That's, I think, really impressive. Yes. It never, like, it always kind of maintains this consistent style, speed, and pacing of the game. That's honestly really impressive, because I'm playing Horizon Zero Dawn right now as well, and the first 5 hours are brilliant. The characters, the writing, even, like, the small, like, fidget animations are just, like, they blow my mind. But it kind of falls into that open world trope of, like, ooh, what's that? Ooh, what's this? Oh, what's that? Like, and you just kind of lose focus, and everything becomes interesting. Where Persona 5 has kind of put you in this specific path, with enough freedom to kind of have fun and play around with it and have interesting and strategic choice, but not to a point where the game's like, I don't care what you do, but you better figure it out. Like, so I think it's impressive. And so anyway, to talk about your nostalgia bias, like, I don't know if it's necessarily nostalgia bias, but it's some sort of, like, game mechanic bias where I'm like, this is how games should work. Like, you should let me be able, like, to free roam. My cat shouldn't tell me I have to stay indoors tonight. Like, but that can be a hard thing to overcome, for sure.
Definitely. Nostalgia blind, or nostalgia blindness is a very, very common issue when it comes to reviewing games, I've found. Has that ever held you back on any of your review articles or anything?
Not particularly. Really, I'm trying to think of a moment where it like might have ripped me the wrong way. But I'm like my whole jam seems to be like searching for innovation in mechanic, or like reinvention of a style or gameplay set. And
So nostalgia blindness doesn't really affect you. in
no,
that
because
way,
I'm
then.
totally down for just like changing the formula. Because like
You
what,
like
what
that.
is and what can be should be. You know what I mean? Like those games already exist. You can go back and play those. Let's figure out like how we can work this in a new way. Let's figure out how we can kind of redefine our genre and hopefully for the better. Maybe make a few mistakes along the way, but that's cool. That's fine. We can maybe mistakes are happy mistakes. They end up being very cool. I think like where it can go wrong is like ukulele though, right? Where that's trying to get at those kind of nostalgia.
It's
pains.
trying too hard to be the old
Yeah, but
game.
it kind of blows. Like,
Yeah.
but then you have a game like Shovel
Yeah,
Knight,
don't.
which definitely reinvents style.
Oh, that was
Exactly,
fantastic.
but it still holds that nostalgia true. So, like, not to say you should just throw out, what you like about nostalgia necessarily, but I think we can innovate without doing the same thing over again. Like Shovel Knight's a good example of that. Like the recent like Doom reboot is a really good example as well. That was a good game. Goodness. So
The ukulele is not a
no,
good.
it's maybe not the best example now.
I mean, it's nice to have my name in the credits for
Oh,
it, but
cool. So you were one of like the original backers.
I was a Kickstarter backer. Yes.
Wow, right on. I'm sorry it didn't work out. That's the risk, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of cool. Like the game itself is, subpar, but at the same time, it's still slightly enjoyable. Something that I can play with my little brothers, stuff like that.
Oh, right on. I've never played it, so I don't know. I can only speak to what I've heard.
We'll check it
I
out.
guess I gotta do that. Yeah. Oh man.
So what systems do you play? You have a PS4, I know.
Brand new. Well,
Brand
bought it off
new.
eBay, so it's new to me. Yeah, PS4 and my PC.
And PC? Is that it?
That is it. I mean, I play like Fire Emblem Heroes on my phone, Pokemon Go. I still play that. You can go ahead and shame me.
You still play Pokemon
Come
Go.
on, dude. I know I can't.
I haven't opened it in probably about a month
I'm
now.
sorry. Yeah, it's fun. I mean, and in Madison here, it's not like we're in a big city, Chicago, but like there are a lot of Pokestops. There are a lot of gyms. Like if I open my phone right now, I've done this before just to have a giggle with my friends. I think just in my starting area there are about 60 Pokestops. Like if I don't move and just move the
Jeez.
camera around, and 5 gyms, I think.
I think there's about 5 gyms in Antioch alone too, and we're like a tiny little town.
Yeah, that's within just like a 6-block radius of me. So it's I think that's kind of right. Like that's the problem with Pokemon Go is that in more rural areas, it's just not as exciting or dynamic or whatever. Whereas in these kind of more urban areas, there's a lot going on. 5, 6, 7, 8. There are 8 gyms without moving. I can see. Oh yeah.
I remember the hype surrounding the game when it first came
Oh
out.
man, that was so cool. It's so
Everyone was
sad.
going. There were crowds chasing after a Blastoise.
Oh, that was fun, dude. Why did they could have Niantic, why did you make the game the way it is? I don't understand.
Do you find yourself asking that constantly to other games, even when you do a positive review on them?
Yes. Why did you do that? Absolutely. And sometimes it's good. It can incubate some shifts in mindset. Like Metal Gear does that a lot, where it just kind of changes
Ooh, Metal Gear.
my expectations. Persona's really changed a lot of my expectations. But yeah, there are definitely some games that kind of just like design choices that do confuse me here and there. But games are wildly complex pieces of entertainment, and require an incredible amount of coordination. So things slip through the cracks, or maybe weird design decisions are made that don't actually make sense. The team doesn't agree with it, or to use a more like salient or recent example here is the Mass Effect. Like maybe you have to suddenly use the Frostbite engine, and there's some mismanagement in your animation team, and then suddenly you have people who look worse than Plato. Like like it's not like it's really sad. There's a lot of small interactions in Mass Effect that these animators probably had to work on and did not have the time to do them well. And it's not like they looked at the screen and were like, "This is gold." I'm sure nobody was like, "Perfect. These animations are brilliant." But they had to release it because maybe they were under time pressure from the publisher or something, and so they come out to the world and everyone just wants to talk about how awful the animations are. It's like, yeah, like, okay, cool, big whoop. Like, I'm sure they realized that too, but like they had to get this out of the gate, and they probably worked very hard to do that despite these rough spots. So I don't find that it's super useful to dwell on that kind of stuff and just say like, okay, that's weird. I don't enjoy it. This is bad, or like this just doesn't work. I mean, hopefully it's not like game inhibiting. Then you can maybe get a little angry if you literally can't play your game that you paid money for. But like if something is just like off kilter or something, I think you can live a much happier, wholesome life if you just move on and say that's fine. Like, what do I like about this experience? So, yeah. Full phosphate.
I love how you could put a positive spin on even the worst games here.
That's what I do, dude. There's no point in getting angry at them.
How about a challenge? I'm gonna bring up some of the worst games.
Okay, God.
And I want you to bring up the positives of them.
Sure.
Do you think you could do that?
Maybe. We'll give it a go.
The first one, this one's a tough one. Sonic the Hedgehog 2006.
Sonic the Hedgehog 2006. Let me just type that into the old Google, make sure I got the right game in mind. Oh yeah. Yeah. Oh boy. Rest for release in 2006. Supposed to bring a breath of fresh HD air to the series. Oh boy. Oh, they made a movie? Wow. Okay. Well, here's the thing. Sonic isn't all bad as a character. Did you play Sonic Adventure 2 Battle? Because that game was pretty sweet.
Oh, Sonic Generations was fantastic. Their 20th anniversary game.
Generations? I never played Generations.
You never played it? You got to play that one.
When did that come out? 2011.
Like, put it on your list. It was their 20th anniversary, so it must have been 5 years ago?
Yeah, 6 years ago.
6 years ago.
Cool. Yeah, no, I don't have too many words for the old Sonic 2006.
How about
gotta go fast?
Some this one comes as a pair. Link, the Faces of Evil, and Zelda, the Wand of Gamelon. Have you heard of those?
Jeez, what? I'm not familiar with these. The Wand of Gamelon.
You have never heard of those two?
No.
It was they're famous for a partnership that Nintendo was going to do.
This is the animation, isn't it? Oh, God.
Yes.
Oh, God, why? God, looking at these images.
Canceled plans for a CD-ROM add-on for the SNES.
What is
that
this?
Nintendo was teaming up with Philips to create, and they are in fact they're denied by Nintendo as canon, but they are actually licensed Nintendo Zelda games.
This is the Link I know and love. Jeez, that's disgusting.
It's famous for lines such as "I wonder what's for dinner."
Oh boy.
And wow, I'm so hungry I could eat an Octorok. And you must die. The famous clips from YouTube poops through the years.
God.
I can't believe you didn't know that one.
I've honestly never heard the name. Like, it's just one of those things that you see images, you see memes, you see little videos of him like throwing the bomb and then like skateboarding on his shield and flying off into the distance. You're just like, wow, what is this? But nobody's like,
all right, I'm going to give you one last one.
Okay.
E.T. the Extraterrestrial for the Atari.
Oh man, do I have a response for that? But crumbs. Okay, there's a good documentary that talks about this. Oh, what is it called? Oh man. Okay. There's a documentary that talks about the history of like video games as a whole, and it definitely focuses on ET, and it talks about kind of like the mismanagement and the how the bubble of Atari grew way too fast, and how games just kind of popped up overnight, basically, and nobody had like figured out like how do we make a good game. And ET was actually like, who was it commissioned by? Published by, rather. ET. Let's get all our facts straight.
Got to be accurate here.
For the Atari 2600. Gosh, there's one developer, and I'm failing to remember his name, that was making a lot of Atari's games and was doing really well, basically. He was just kind of like a prodigy, and they dumped this whole entire project on him, and like it kept shifting and changing like midway through, and he didn't have any time to do it. And it's kind of a sad story. And then they released this game, and this was effectively like Atari shooting themselves in the foot, because they were just producing content at a breakneck pace, and like nothing was phasing them. Until, of course, they grew too big for their own shoes. But what is this? What is this documentary? If I can get a hot link to this, I feel like listeners would do well to give this one a watch, because it's good.
If you find the link before the episode goes up, I'll put it in the description.
Yeah, it's really insightful, honestly. If you want to see what happened with that famous game that got dumped into landfills in somewhere in like Nevada, you know.
And that's a true story. They actually did get dumped into landfills.
Oh yeah. Okay, I've got it. It's called Atari: Game Over.
Atari Game Over.
Yeah, it's made 3 years ago. It's very good.
All right. You folks will do good to check those out. Mm-hmm. Now, have you ever thought of taking this critical eye of taking the positives out of everything and turning it to the film industry?
Oh boy. Yeah, I think my look at games has certainly influenced how I look at film, for sure. But I don't want to like make enemies here, but games are just the most powerful medium you can tell a story in. A film is it just kind of regurgitates at you, whereas a game, it requires and demands involvement. It demands
I totally understand.
So I think I could, but I think games are because of how kind of gnarly they are for that interaction they require, makes the experience a lot more interesting. And when you have a game like BioShock where, I mean, I don't know, should I spoil BioShock here?
It's been out for a while. Spoiler alert. I think we're good now that I've said that.
Okay, so. Cool. I'm sorry. Please pause if you don't want BioShock spoiled, ? I guess. Anyway, yeah, basically the whole game, you're being like subtly kind of told this word command, would you kindly? Would you kindly step out of the bathysphere? Would you kindly pick up a crowbar? Until finally it's like, would you kindly, kill Andrew Ryan effectively at the end. And it's kind of leading you along this narrative path where these all make sense, narratively. It's not like out of the blue, and suddenly when you go to kill this kind of big bad, Andrew Ryan, he, enlightens you that you're totally under mind control. And anytime someone says this key phrase, would you kindly, you're kind of like forced to do it. And it's this super good meditation on, the nature of games, and the gamers and the developers saying, like, here's what you have to do, and we're going to pretend like you have free choice. But then again, I've only made this game to like interact with you in so many ways, so you don't really have free choice. And you can only do that through gameplay, because you're the one playing. You're the one who got duped. Like, you literally, the gamer, not like, oh, my character in the film or in the game got screwed. Like, it's like, no, you as a gamer have to realize, like, well, you're kind of under control anytime you play a game. And like, is that disturbing? I don't know. That's for you to decide. Do you have free will in games? Like, is it important that you do? Just a lot of kind of explosive questions for the medium that are demanding of you being the one who's interacting with it, and you having that experience and that mirror kind of turned on you as a gamer, and not just watching something, happen to another character and go, I empathize and I sympathize with that, and that's powerful message, but instead to have something actually talk to you as an individual is so powerful that games just kind of they've got a lot of magic to them that I don't think has been tapped into yet, and that we're gonna see more powerfully as time moves on. So yeah, definitely thought about, kind of looking at film and in that kind of way, but games are where my heart is. So
And I think that's a really good message to end off on. So, with that, we're just skimming the surface.
awesome. Thanks for listening to my voice too.
Thanks for coming on, Stephen. I really enjoyed talking with you.
Yeah.
Stephen Farrell, everybody, of the Game Advocate. Make sure you check out that website there and read some of those reviews. Get some positivity in your life.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me, man. Appreciate it.
And with that, we are just skimming the surface. Thanks for listening. Remember to like us on Facebook to stay updated on future episodes and to subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. Leave a like down below and let us know what you think in the comments. Also remember to follow us on Twitter at WSkymmilk and to check out our website as well, www.wskymmilk.com. This has been WSkymmilk. Have a great night and remember to tune in next time.